want to support the platform just in case anything like this happens again, you can do it by way of PayPal, Patreon, Cash App, and also by the Anchor. And you can also further support the platform by way of going to the Teespring store or the shoe store that is located in the comment section below. Canadian police arrested 8 teenage girls who know each other through social media for allegedly swarming a homeless man on the streets of Toronto and brutally taking his life. The 13-year-old, 14-year-old, and 16-year-old girls have each been charged with second-degree murder in the deadly swarming of a 59-year-old man living in the homeless shelter system shortly after midnight on Sunday. Police withheld the names of the 8 minor suspects under Canadian's Youth Criminal Justice Act, which prevents their publication. The name of the victim was initially held pending next of kin notifications. At a press conference on Tuesday, Detective Sergeant Terry Browning of the Homicide and Missing Persons Unit declined to describe the group of girls as a gang, stating that they carried out a swarming type of behavior. Quote, from what we gather so far, it is that they met each other through social media. They come from varying parts of the city. That's to say that they're not from one specific geographic location. We don't know how or why they met on that evening or why the destination was downtown Toronto. We don't know how long they've been acquainted together with each other, but I wouldn't describe them as a gang at this point. What they are alleging to have occurred that evening would be consistent with what we traditionally call a swarming or a swarming type of behavior. A Toronto resident, the victim had only been living in the shelter since late fall of last year. Three of the suspects had had prior contact with Toronto Police Services, but the other five had no prior contact with police whatsoever. The sergeant stated, quote, a number of weapons were secured from the girls at the time of their arrest. At approximately 12:17 a.m. Sunday, police responded to a call for an incident in York Street and University Avenue area. Emergency medical personnel were initially flagged down by a group of individuals reporting an incident. The man was transported to the area hospital by medics with life-threatening injuries. He was pronounced deceased a short time later at the hospital. They appeared at Old City Hall for a 10 a.m. court hearing later Sunday and remanded into custody. Their next court appearance is scheduled for December 29th, and police are seeking assistance from anyone who had contact with the suspects that night and are trying to obtain for any video surveillance footage that might have captured the attack. The suspects are believed to have first arrived in the area around 10:30 p.m. Saturday and are believed to have been involved in an earlier altercation in the time leading up to the fatal event. All right, so this is just talking in general here. I've stated before on this platform a multitude of times that when you decide to have people that want to solely focus on what it is that men are doing and only what men are doing, that a lot of things are going to be able to slide by, that a lot of people are going to be able to do things that they necessarily would not be able to do because eyes would be, in that direction. But obviously, the eyes must be lacking because everybody must just solely be focused on men because just men are just the epitome of evil. Men are everything evil, everything negative, yada, yada, yada. And here you have, without the help of men, without the enabling of men, without men telling them what to do, you had these 8 girls, a group. I'm going to call them a gang because that's specifically what they are. They are a gang. For the police not to want to associate that with gang life or a gang type of behavior is completely crazy. They literally got together on social media, only know each other through social media, came up with a plan, brought objects, all of them from wherever they came from, brought objects with them on the sole purpose on trying to find somebody who was homeless so that they could erase them. And that's exactly what they did. And then they have these stupid laws out here talking about, oh, we're not going to, release the names because of yada yada. I feel like the laws need to be changed. The laws need to state that unless let's say if it was something petty, right? Let's say okay, they stole some clothes. Let's say if they stole like a cell phone or something like that, something where there was, in a sense, almost literally no chance where somebody was going to lose their life. Fine, no problem. They can more than likely change from that. Fine, sure, cool. They specifically met up just to do this. They didn't meet up just to sit up there and go to a sleepover. They didn't meet up just to go to eat. They didn't meet up just to go talk about boys or to go shopping or whatever. They didn't do none of that. They met up and brought weapons so that they can end up ending somebody. And you got the nerve to sit up here and say that this is not gang behavior, not gang activity. We're not going to release the names. Fine, if you don't want to release the names, then who are the parents? Put out who the parents are. Because I keep stating this over and over again. You got too many parents out here deciding that they want to allow a kid's friends, they want to allow TikTok and social media and all of these other social engagement platforms to raise their kids versus them actually raising their kids. And then they want to turn around and state when they find out and get on the news when they're caught red-handed because their child did something wrong. Oh, I didn't know what was wrong. My life is hard. This is going on in the family. This is going on. I was just, going through a divorce and yada yada yada. Everything has been tough. Money this and I work 2 to 3 jobs and yada. It's impossible for me. Well, if it's impossible for you as an adult, then don't have kids. If it is literally impossible for you to manage as an adult, do not have kids. Now, some people are going to have a problem with that. They'll be like, well, Seiji, who are you to tell somebody not to have kids? How can you control what other people do? You're right, I can't. But I can tell people that they shouldn't do it. Just like I've been sitting up there telling people that I knew back in high school, like, yo, you shouldn't go out here and get pregnant or get somebody else pregnant. You're not responsible enough for yourself yet, and you're not going to be responsible enough for a child. If your life is already difficult as the person that you are, just as a single individual, what do you think your life is going to be when you bring a baby into this world that is solely dependent on you? That child didn't ask to be here. That child didn't just win the lottery and was like, hey, this is my brand new parents. That child didn't sit up there and just pull a name out of a hat like, all right, I'm going to them. Nah, you decided to perform an action, which then led to that child being here. And then once that child is here and things don't go right, now you want to be absolved of responsibility. You want to put the responsibility and blame on everybody else. You want to start deflecting. Nah, like I said, I'm tired of all of y'all doing that. I'm tired of all of y'all coming up with some type of excuses as to why it is that it is so difficult for parents out here. If you know it's going to be difficult, which you already knew it was going to be because you can look at your family, you can look at your parents, you can look at your friends, you can look at people out here in the world, you can look at news stories, you can look at social media. So for people to try to make it seem like they just didn't know that they were oblivious is ridiculous. Maybe if you living in like, let's say like Kazakhstan or like Lithuania, like somewhere where they don't really have social media like in America, right? You're in a sense like, got your mind in the clouds or something. Fine, so be it. But that's not the case. But the funny part is, even if that was the case, you still have what? Home values. You still got community values. You still got expectations. You still got other examples of like, hey, well, such and such down the way, she sat up there and had a child. Look how hard her life is. Do you want that for yourself? Yes or no? You can come to that determination by looking at the other person's life. But here we are, we're living in a society of which it is celebrating children having children. That's crazy. That is 1,000% crazy. You got too many parents out here, their daughters did something that they wasn't supposed to do. So now they 15 and 16 about to have their first child, and now you sitting up there throwing them a baby shower. Why are you celebrating that? Why are you celebrating that? That don't even make no sense. That literally don't even make no sense. Some people are like, oh, well, it's not for them, it's for the baby. If the baby is literally inside of the womb, how's the baby want to even know anything that's even taking place? They don't. Even through certain ages, let's put it up a little bit. Let's say like 1 through 5, maybe 1 through 6. How many kids actually remember any of their birthdays in between those years? I got fragments. Unless you're Steve Urkel and you were just like your brain was on, and as soon as you came out the womb, you saw everything and remembered everything. Okay, fine. You're a part of that lower percentage of the world that has that ability. Everybody else, no, their stuff is fragmented. This stuff is coming through by either pictures or by things that people have specifically told them that took place. And then those memories or whatever they stated is now being inserted into those areas where they don't have a complete story, right? Like I said, we live in a very backwards world where a lot of things that are not okay are deemed and being made okay. So if you have children directly out of wedlock, let's sit up there and celebrate it. I told people before, even back when I was in school, I sat up there and told people I don't like a lot of these reality shows that they were sitting up there showing, like when they had all of these young girls pregnant and gave them like a TV show. All you basically did is two reasons they did that. I'm going to get to just the first one. So they did that in order to make it or make it seem as though it is okay. They did it also for indoctrination purposes in order to get the whole ball spinning, in order to get a certain generation to be like, okay, well, if they're highlighting this and making it seem like it's okay, then it's okay. I'm going to go out here and do it too because these are my peers and this is what they're doing. And look at how everybody's celebrating them. So I'm going to get that same celebration, which they are correct because as soon as any of these young girls end up having a baby, then they're going to end up getting celebrated, right? But the most important thing that a lot of these kids don't realize is that the reason why they're, in a sense, enabling that type of behavior has to do with survival. It has to do with the low birth rates. So they're going to sacrifice what is on the table in order to get a bigger gain. They're willing to sacrifice a lot of their pieces in order for them to make the moves that they need to make. So inadvertently, also what this has also enabled is coming into other communities, the same imagery being shown on television coming into other communities and then leading to those young girls thinking that it is acceptable and okay to do this. And also the rhetoric that you have a lot of women like, oh well, I'm 15, I'm 16. The child don't need a father because I could do it all by myself because I've seen other women sit up there and do it. And this is what other women have been saying. I've been looking at them, these examples, look at these celebrity women doing it by themselves and yada. And this is when you start having the erosion of values, of family, of culture, of community. This is what that looks like. And then it leads to these circumstances right here, where you have these teens, these 8 girls who got together over social media and decided that it was acceptable and okay to go directly out here and take the life of another individual.